What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I know it's been a while. I've been out and about. I got all kinds of stuff to update you all on. First of all, I just got back from the NSCA National Conference. 2022 National Conference was in New Orleans. Great event. My first event as a board member with the NSCA. So that was cool. Last year I was voted onto the board at the same event, which was in Orlando. And so I just got done serving my first of 3 years in this term as a board member, as the personal trainer representative with the NSCA. And we've got a lot of good stuff coming up. So we have Personal Trainers Conference is coming up, as you can see here, in October 25th through the 28th. I was lucky enough to get selected to speak in that. I got to record my presentation on sarcopenia and aging at this last conference here. So that was very cool. I got to see a couple of the other presenters as well and the content they're putting up. It's going to be a great conference. I'm really looking forward to that. Anyone who's in the world of tactical, working with anybody that's in any type of service, EMS, fire, sheriff, military, any of that, the NSCA has their TSAC event coming up here August 23rd through the 26th. I am going to see if I can go to that. I'm not quite sure scheduling wise and such, but it looks like a pretty badass event. It always is. And the tactical content is just out of this world. NSCA has such a great niche, I guess I would say, in the tactical world with the TSAC facilitator certification that they have, and then just the whole community they're built around it. So overall, awesome event. Loved the event. Love the events that are coming up. San Antonio and then the online one. We're hoping that the Personal Trainers Conference in the future will have a in-person component to it again. It's kind of my number one priority is to try to bring that conference back to in-person events. So stay tuned there. On the back end of this trip, I had another surgery. You might notice I'm a little stiff. I'm a little wrapped up here. Had some scar tissue and some work done to my ribs and the side of my chest, and I've had some other surgeries and incisions and other pain areas that needed to have some work done on them. So I'm all wrapped up and compressed and getting fixed up from that. So that was on Monday. So I've had it's Thursday now. I've had a couple of days now of resting up, getting tired of laying around on my back. So happy to be up, being back to work today, back to recording. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of info. Being at the conference and with the surgery, why I haven't been posting, haven't really put up anything in a couple of weeks here. So I hope you understand on the healing bandwagon here, and things are feeling pretty good. So other announcements, other cool things that have come up here. I've got 2 articles inside the NSCA's Personal Trainer Quarterly. I have a third one coming up here. So the first one I did was on progressions to training your older adult to press overhead. So we kind of talk about if they're able, if they're not. We can start with different variations of shoulder raises, eventually go to your pivot point presses, different rows that are going to assist you in eventually creating the strength needed to press overhead and such. So that's a pretty cool article. You guys can check that out. It is on my Instagram. It's also on my Facebook. The entire articles, I posted it all there. You'll just need to, zoom in a little bit. Or if you're an NSCA member, you can check out the Personal Trainer Quarterly, volume 8 and, 8.3 and 8.2, I think, are these two. And then I had another one on deadlift. And so this one here, we talk about the T-bell and different rack pulls, just different hinge mechanics and traditional pulls off the floor, sit to stands, etc. So if you guys get a chance, check those out. Those are all open and available to NSCA members and non-members. And also I will be presenting coming up here August 10th through the 14th. My talk is on sarcopenia, osteopenia, and the silent epidemic, if you will, of how this is addressing our older populations, and that what we can do about that. I posted this not too long ago, maybe a week ago. I asked Keegan to make this for me. I said I wanted something that made a statement, but really addressed exactly what the goals were. And the goal is, number one, to stop sarcopenia. Okay, so let's break that down. And I've got a review of a book here that I want to take you through that I just picked up. Unfortunately, the same time that the presenter or the author of this book was presenting at our national conference on this topic, I was recording my session for the personal trainers conference, the online one. So I didn't have a whole lot of options I wanted to see him. Anyway, I'll show you the book here in just a second, but I didn't have the opportunity to see him in person, but boy, do I love this book. I'm completely in love with it. I think it's a great educational piece, along with like 4 or 5 other books that I have. They really deliver all the content, like everything that I'm looking for people to understand about sarcopenia, osteopenia, and obesity. Those are really the big 3, okay? 33% of our 50 and over population have all 3 of those, which is not great, okay? But a little over 30% have at least one as well. So somewhere in the system along the line here, the message is being lost that for us to increase our quality of life, let me just blanket statement there, to increase quality of life as we age, either developing and or maintaining muscle mass is priority number 1, okay? And every piece of research that we find supports that, because whatever it is that we're dealing with as we're aging, it could be a disability, it could be a disease, it could be a cognitive issue, it could be a physical issue, anything across the board. By having more lean muscle mass and strength on your body, you are that much more likely, capable, able to overcome or maintain or improve or just achieve a better quality if you have this in your life. So when we say we want to stop sarcopenia, that's not one of these general statements where it's like, oh, let's, F can't, I get it, that these are battles, but there's actually an answer to this one, There are cures to cancer, but there are still many cancers that are not curable. But there really is a cure to sarcopenia. We literally could stop it if everybody would participate in resistance training. And I know that a lot of people hear that and they're like, well, I don't like it. I understand. There's plenty of things that I don't enjoy doing myself, but I know that it's good for me and that it's, namely eating vegetables. Not a huge fan, okay? They don't taste very good in my opinion. However, I muscle them down every day because I know they're good for me. Things like that, okay? So when we talk about stopping sarcopenia, we literally could, if not drastically reduce it, okay? We could stop it. And to end it, okay, to really assist in this is the idea of ending underloading, okay? Now, underloading is a part where people hear that and they're like, what does that mean? And what exactly are you trying to say here? There's a saying out there that says, better than nothing, right? Hey, I was gonna go to the gym and get a workout in, but I decided I was too exhausted, so I just walked on the treadmill for a half an hour. But hey, it's better than nothing, right? I was gonna, I wanted to do that kettlebell workout you gave me, but instead I hopped on the bike for 15 minutes. It's better than nothing. So yes, some movement is better than no movement, okay? But my argument is, if you tell me I would rather skip a 10-minute resistance training workout to go walk on a treadmill for a half an hour because of the intensity of the effort that you would have to put in, that doesn't make any sense to me, okay? That's where I hear it's better than nothing is not accurate, okay? Because I will get more benefit as an aging body to do a 10-minute resistance training circuit than a half hour of walking on a treadmill, okay? We're now seeing that muscle mass, like lean muscle mass, being developed and or maintained on the body as it ages is just so vitally important to this body, to the human body as it ages. It is such an important component. It's literally holding the body upright and keeping it, able to do whatever it is you're asking it to do on a daily basis. And a lot of people go, oh, well, what about bone density? If you have sarcopenia, almost always, you have at least osteopenia, the softening of bones, if not brittle bones, osteoporosis, okay? It is exceptionally rare to find someone who has sarcopenia that doesn't have a bone density issue. They go hand in hand. If you have sarcopenia, if you have lost muscle mass to a point where you are now losing function, meaning you couldn't pick up what you used to be able to pick up, or you can't reach a range of motion that you used to be able to do, like you've lost function. Your muscle mass doesn't just get a little smaller, you actually physically got weaker. Your posture starts to collapse. Your ability to do what you could before, even just a few days ago, is now reduced. You are now sarcopenic. And in doing that, your bone density will follow because you're not stressing the muscles, you're not stressing the bones. So when we talk about ending underloading, what I'm talking about is it's better than nothing. That mindset of like, well, at least I did something. I would rather you do less time commitment and do the exact appropriate thing that you need, which is 10 minutes or 15 minutes of resistance training rather than a half hour on the bike, a half hour on the treadmill. I'm not dumping on cardio. I'm saying that where is the priority? If we have sarcopenia, if you have bone density issues, okay, your concern at the time is not your cardiovascular health. Your concern is building your muscle mass back, building your bone density back. So if you're gonna, do something that's better than nothing, I would rather you do one specific thing that's exactly what you need, but just do less time of it, right? Instead of a half hour on the bike, give me 10 to 15 minutes of resistance training. It's half the amount of time that you needed to put in, but it's exactly what you needed. So it's not something's better than nothing. It's exactly what I needed in less time, okay? It's a smarter way to train. Why commit more time to something that's not going to be as beneficial for you when you can get exactly what you need in a smaller bout of time? And ideally, you'll enjoy that and start to see good results from it, and you'll want to increase it. Now, when we come to that, the whole mindset of something's better than nothing, or that minimalist mindset comes into load, because a lot of people will go, oh, I did my resistance training, but did you load it appropriately? Were you challenging, or were you just moving some weight around? So people go, oh, I'm afraid of getting bulky. Let me burst the bubble for you guys right now. If you're over the age of, I'm going to say 35, and you start lifting hard, heavy weight, okay, as hard as your body can possibly handle, you're not going to get too bulky. It's not possible unless you are putting something else into your system and or training with such a heavy load that you can only do between 1 and 5 reps with the weight, and you do it for hundreds and hundreds of reps for years on end, then maybe you might get too bulky, okay? But it's exceptionally, extremely rare. And for those of us that are doing 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 12, no chance of you getting too bulky. 0 chance, I promise you, okay? I promise you there is no chance of you getting too bulky. Only thing that's going to happen to you is you're going to get stronger and feel better, and your posture will be better, and you'll move better, and you'll think better, and you'll sleep better, and everything will be better. But you will not get too bulky. I guarantee you that, okay? Unless you're rubbing testosterone and human growth hormone all over your body and then lifting really heavy weight, it's probably not going to happen, okay? So don't worry about getting too bulky. Ladies and guys across the board, it's not going to happen, team, okay? When you start to select load, the load needs to be appropriate, okay? And we say end underloading. A lot of people go through the ranges with the lightest little, oh, I moved 10 pounds. Was it easy? Yeah, it was really easy, okay? But I lifted weights, better than nothing. No, it's not better than nothing. You just wasted your time, okay? Pick the appropriate load, find the challenge. I would rather you do 2 sets of 8 with a heavier load that challenge you. You're like, I could barely do 8. It was hard, okay? I'd rather you do 2 sets with that. You'll get more benefit out of that than 4 sets of 8 with a weight that's not hard at all. So underloading is a big issue, because now we're back in that mindset. Well, it's better than nothing. I still moved a little bit of weight. It wasn't very hard, but I still did it. It's better than nothing. We've got to get out of that mindset. I don't want it's better than nothing. I want it's exactly what I needed, and I committed the amount of time I needed to it. I know that's not an easy, fancy thing to say, like the saying it's better than nothing. It's like a minimalist mindset, but I want the minimalist mindset to be exactly what I want. I would rather you pick the exact medicine that you need rather than taking a general one and hoping it addresses everything, okay? It's too broad, it's too open, it's not specific enough. We have dissected this disease. Sarcopenia now is officially a disease, okay? As of 2016, it's an official disease. We have dissected this disease down and found specific enough information that we know exactly how to address the body, exactly how to look at the musculature and say, you're shrinking or you're growing. Those are the only two options, okay? You can maintain for a little bit, but as we continue, okay, here's our book, okay, here's our disability threshold. I'll come back to it in a second. As we continue down this threshold, right, two things are going to happen. You're either going to work hard and try to maintain your muscle mass, which is going to keep you out of that disability threshold, okay, which is going to keep you independent and on your own and, capable of doing things. Or you're not going to resistance train. Body's going to start to fail. You're going to fall into the low performance threshold and then eventually into the disability threshold. And now your life is dependent on someone else. Your daily routine is dependent on someone else. You have lost your independence. And once we get there, it's extremely rare to get out of it, if at all, okay? So I need you to stay away from this. And that's what we're arming everybody with this is great information from this book. Joseph Signorelli, really wanted to see him present. I know it's a little blurry. I tried to find a better picture, guys, but this is the best one that we had on there. And this book is just fantastic. I absolutely love it. This is one of the pictures from the section here that we'll zoom in on these two as we go, but from one of the chapters here, he talks about resistance training, the neuromuscular causes of sarcopenia. Okay, so we're going to break down each one of these as we kind of go across. And I want to talk about each one just real quick, to kind of give you a little bit further information on this. So resistance training increases the cross-sectional areas of muscle fiber of an older person, especially in the areas in types 2 fibers, which are the fibers most dramatically affected by the aging process. So these are the fibers that take you from being able to move quickly when you're about to trip and or fall and stop your body from falling. You get that really fast, quick response, okay? Someone throws you the car keys, you grab the keys. You're walking, you catch your toe on a curb, you throw your foot out, you stop the fall. That's type 2. That's a quick, dynamic, muscular response. Not only are the muscles fast enough to respond, they're fast enough to respond, put you in the right positions to rescue the fall, keep you from falling, keep you from hurting yourself, but also you don't break anything in the midst because the muscles are so strong and have been pulling on the bones, and the bones are dense enough to hold up to the demand as well. Because we will see some people that react in a quick physical, oh, I'm about to fall, and they go to move their bones that quickly. The muscles do their job, but the bones can't hold up. And the bones will break in the act of moving, gang. Meaning that they didn't fall down and hit anything. Nobody landed on them. When we were in a car accident, they just tried to move their body quickly and their ankle snapped, their tibia snapped, their forearm snapped, like something breaks in them because they just tried to move too quick. Think of how brittle your bones, like balsa wood, needs to be. Where when you just say, let me try to move fast and something breaks. Okay, it's an extreme example, but it is happening. It is literally happening in our world today. So sarcopenia, osteopenia, obesity, osteosarcobesity is the big three. That's like the big three issues we're dealing with as we age. But the linchpin, the one that's binding it all together, is sarcopenia. If we keep muscle mass, maintain this muscle mass, across the board, everything will be better. Okay, and that's a further dissection of each of these is kind of helping us lend to that. Okay, all right, next one, number 2. Resistance training increases the firing rate of the motor nerves in older people, as well as improves the ability of the nerves to call up and or recruit motor units to meet the increased needs. These changes increase the force production capabilities of the muscle, especially during the early stages of training. So what they're talking about here is when your resistance training protocol, when your body, your mind to muscle initiation says, muscles, I need you to engage, I need you to contract and move through this range of motion. Okay, the motor neurons, this system recruits all the fibers. We have something called the all or none, like you're either calling on all muscle fibers or none of them. It's just how violently will they engage to assist you in your movement. That's what's going on here, okay? The more we practice this in a more violent, but good violent, controlled fashion, the better we're going to carry the result of that style of training. Meaning, early on in stages of training, those that have not worked out before will see great results. It's like watering a plant that's never been watered. It will go, oh my goodness, this is great, and you'll see these great improvements. And then eventually, things kind of level out, things kind of maintain, and you'll kind of go from there, okay? So recruitment of the muscle fiber is just as important, like getting the system to turn on quickly and respond, just as important as the actual size of the muscle mass itself. Number 3, high intensity training, such as resistance and complex agility training, can actually increase the number of branches or the complexity of the neuromuscular junction, and so decrease the effects of age-induced unraveling at the neuromuscular junction. So what we're talking about here is a high intensity style of training with resistance in hand. HIRT training, high intensity resistance training. We talk about this often. Working complex movements or agility type training. Complex means multiple joints. A squat with a press, a hinge with a row, a lunge with a curl, something along those lines, okay? Agility in multiple directions on different calls, different times, different tempos. It can increase the number of branches and or complexity of the neuromuscular junction. So basically encouraging the cross fiber, the activation of the muscles, all of this. If we continue to train in different directions and different abilities, the training that we implement in the weight room will carry into our real life actions and more or less reduce or slow down the aging process, making an aging body not move so slowly, be so frail, be so exposed to limitation, to injury, to fall, to damage, okay? So traditional strength resistance training is great. And once we build that base, 8 to 12 weeks or so, introducing a higher intensity style, a more complex, a more agility-based style of training will carry into real life function quite a bit more and help us stay above that disability threshold, okay? All right, number 4, resistance training increases calcium flow through the muscle and so allows older muscle to perform like muscles that are many years younger. So I don't know the exact science of how this works, and I am trusting Joseph, and he cites every chapter's got 100 works cited after it. I don't doubt any of this. And knowing that this is listed here as number 4 as a component to that, I am trusting 100% that the increased flow of calcium through the musculature basically is injecting younger, vigorous life into that musculature, which is where you'll see individuals that look a certain age, but they are moving at a biological level younger than their chronological age shows. And what I mean by that is someone who might be chronologically 70, but biologically they've taken such good care of themselves they move like they're 40, okay? But you can also have the reverse of that, where you can have someone who's 40 and they haven't taken care of themselves at all and just abuse themselves and they move and look like they're 70, okay? This is a key component to this, is not just the calcium flow, but the overall neuromuscular response to resistance training and how it will change all of your hormonal responses and your emotional and physical and cognitive interactions, right? All of this flow here comes from why I use the term that sarcopenia is the linchpin that connects all disease. Like development of muscle mass is the linchpin that heals all, okay? That's why this is such a big thing. And I'm not talking about it in terms of like everybody's got to get jacked. Remember, that's not a concern of ours. You're not going to get too muscular. What we are talking about is keeping enough muscle mass or even growing some, okay, that is going to allow you to maintain this longevity of life. But we'll see people in their 50s start moving better than when they were in their 30s because they're training appropriately. Like, it's not too late, guys. I'll even have clients in their 70s make improvements. If you're knocking on the door at 80, then maybe the ship sailed a bit. Doesn't mean that we can't improve some things, but are we going to find any type of like maximal capabilities, your best potential. No, it's probably right around the end of 60s, early 70s, right around in there. Okay, we're starting to lose our peak abilities, all right? And by peak abilities, I mean like you're not gonna get into Olympia shape, but I just mean like you're gonna be able to improve to a pretty good function, okay? All right, number 5, resistance training counteracts the normal age-related decline in satellite cell numbers, allowing the muscles to repair itself more effectively and to reach higher levels of hypertrophy. So the reason I pause is with age-related decline, okay, that's a very broad term. So we're looking again at like the general numbers, okay? Generally speaking, at a certain age, you're gonna see this gradual decline. With the introduction of resistance training into this, we can definitely counteract that, not only just by the recruitment of cells and their ability to turn over quicker, be more dynamic, explosive, but all the way down to the levels of true hypertrophy. And the reason I pause is it definitely depends on where you are in your aging process. I'm gonna say 20s, 30s, 40s, for sure, hypertrophy still exists. Hypertrophy is like true muscle mass building. My biceps were once 14 inches and now they're 16. That's true hypertrophy. It's not just I could curl 20, now I can curl 30. You might be able to increase binding sites in your muscle mass and get stronger, but not actually get the muscle to physically grow bigger. That is very possible and it happens all the time. People get stronger, or people can get bigger, or people can get stronger and bigger. It depends on how you're training your body. So 20, 30, 40, 50s even, yes, hypertrophy still exists. Beyond 50, that's why I pause, okay? There are some musculatures, some locations where you will be able to truly grow that muscle mass as you start to age. And again, just depends on your nutrition and how well you're treating your body and like everything else, okay? A lot goes into this. More than just, I did my 3 sets of 8, you said I'd get bigger. There's a lot more that goes into this, okay? And then just to kind of wrap it all up, I thought this was great. And I know it's super simple, but resistance training can have a positive effect on all aspects of neuromuscular decline that accompanies aging. Notice it says a positive effect on all neuromuscular decline, all of them, not some, not a couple, not the key, all of them, all. I mean, what a statement. Can you make that statement about like anything else? Like if you put in flexibility training, it'll have a positive effect on all. Nope, it'll be close, but not all. If I increase my cardiovascular, will it have all? Nope, no, not all. Resistance training, all aspects, everything, it's gonna positively impact the aging process. Do you see why now I call sarcopenia the linchpin for disease and gaining muscle mass the linchpin for health? Okay, it's so important. It's so important. And long-winded, short-winded, however I got to deliver the message, this is what I want to get across to everybody, is that your resistance training abilities practiced on really an every other day schedule. Okay, that's what we call EOD 20. Every other day, EOD, 20 minutes. Okay, every other day for 20 minutes as a bare minimum. Resistance training, just start. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you do it. Just start moving resistance. And as you get more specific, a little more detailed, to get some coaching, you can start to improve your programming and get much more dynamic in what you do. Makes things a lot more interesting, a lot more fun, a lot more challenging, a lot easier to track your progress, etc. But at least start off every other day, 20 minutes, and get yourself away from the low physical performance threshold and sure as hell away from the disability threshold. I want you up in that older life, high performance, high quality of life area until your last dying day, and then you're dead, okay? And I know it's weird to say that, but as opposed to at 50, you start to decline, at 70, you're bedridden until 85, and then you die miserable, sitting in a bed for 15 years. Like, is that living or is that just not dying? You see what I'm saying? Where if I could have you live to 84 and then you're out, running a 10K with your grandkids, and that's, to me, so much better a way to go, because all of your life that you had was at a high quality, all of it. At no point, not even Not even a little bit, in my opinion. Do I want to have days or months where you're, in bed and you're sick and your body's, I just don't want that for anybody. I've seen it and I don't want it. And there's another component to this too. I addressed a little bit at a presentation, a little mini talk, a little TED talk that I got to do at the national conference, where we talk about the ones that are left behind, the ones that that have to grieve at the loss of someone, and what kind of image is stuck in their head. Okay, I have an image of my wife's grandpa, Harry, of one particular day. He's got his boots on, he's got his cowboy hat on, he's knocking stuff over and, having a good time and shit kicking with the best of us. I mean, I've got that so clear in my mind of how he is, how he was, his energy, all of that. And then I have another one that's about 6 months later, and he was like 3 months of being in a bed, couldn't get up on his own, couldn't speak anymore. It's not a pretty picture. I want that image of him in my head, of him upright, laughing, fun. I want that image. And unfortunately, many cases, it's the latter. It's those last couple of days or last couple of months or even years in some cases that get stuck with us. And it's really hard for us to think back to when someone was at their best, when they've had months or even years of being at such a low point. So, not that, obviously the person that's getting ready to pass away, it's hardest for them and their life is ending. I get that. But you also want to think about the other people that can be affected by this. And it can have a traumatic and dramatic effect on many. You have a grandparent that goes out skydiving or, has a heart attack out on the trails while riding their bike. They went out doing what they love. They are able and capable. And you can almost feel good about it, and happy for them that they never got to this point where they were stuck in a bed or they were stuck on a wheelchair and they couldn't do anything on their own anymore. I don't ever want to be there, I know we're talking about a whole different thing here and process of death and all this, but I think would be pretty safe to say that everybody agrees you'd rather be the best version of yourself, not the worst version of yourself when you go. That's what I'm talking about. Whatever that might be for you. I'm pretty certain though, it has to do with you being upright, being capable, being able, and not restricted in any way or in very minimal ways. I will quit rambling. Long update, 30 minutes here, but I hope you don't mind. I had a lot to say, a lot of things that I wanted to get off my chest and kind of talk about here. Hope you learn a couple of things. Feel free to share, subscribe. I do appreciate it. We've got all kinds of great content coming out. We'll definitely get back on the consistency train here and start putting out more content on a regular basis. But love and appreciate you all. I hope you're all doing well. And if you ever need anything from me, you guys know how to reach out. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or head over to trainingtheolderadult.com. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Thank you.